welcome you back to the Bell Ringers podcast, brought to you by SeatGeek, Ben Goldstein and Matt Brown. Phillies season is over. They get eliminated in Game 4 in heartbreaking fashion. And Matt, who's filling in for Colin today, gut-wrenching. Game 3 was so exciting. The bats wake up. They finally get the big blow they needed from the forward. Things are looking up. And then last night is just one of the biggest heartbreaks and just tough watches in Phillies history.
That you pretty much described it to a T. Like, I think heartbreak is just the word that is being used right now to describe not only this series but last night's game. Somebody said that on Twitter. They're like, every year has been a descriptive word, different descriptive word. Like, proud was 2022. I think it was 23 was just shocked. Last year was just pissed off, and then this was just heartbreaking because it's been such a great season for this team. A season where the year prior ended in just a absolute, like, I used it, pissed off, losing to the Mets in the NLDS last year, and it was just a season that you just felt like they wasted. And they came back this season. It was a bit of a grind. There were tons of up and downs. It was a roller coaster of a season where, for a lot of it, you really didn't know what this team was. But as they went down the stretch in the last couple months of the year, they really turned on to put the pedal to the metal, and they put their foot on the gas, and they looked like they were going to go win a World Series. They were the second best team in Major League Baseball this year. They had the pieces that they needed. They got the center fielder they always needed at the deadline. They got the deadline, biggest prize of the deadline in Johan Duran, the closer that they needed, and they were ready to rock and roll in the playoffs. And a heartbreak central. That game yesterday was just killer. It summed up that whole series where they just couldn't catch a break. They couldn't get anything going, and it literally is now in just a moment in Philadelphia sports history of where were you when that was happening, kind of. And it's crazy that we're at that point again after what has happened the last 4 years, but it's devastating. Devastating and heartbreaking are the two words that I've just been using for this moment since last night.
It's darkness again for the Phillies, who 24 days ago celebrated a National League championship in the same clubhouse where their season ends. And that clubhouse it's an old tight one. And last night I felt like the walls were closing in, and a lot of emotion in the clubhouse from guys who could not be returning next year, and the manager, and just when you look back 24 days ago, we were saying this team feels different. They're saying things that this team has never said before, and doing things, playing well, and they come around and they're nothing changes. The offense is stagnant. The bullpen does not come through, and the managing is not good as well. But we will recap Game 4 for you. We're going to skip over Game 3 because that just seems like an anomaly at this point. So we're going to talk about Game 4 tonight, and we'll thank SeatGeek for allowing us to do that. They're the best. Phillies season might be over, but we're just getting ready for fall and winter sports. Go over to SeatGeek and buy your tickets. Code Philly Sports Report, PHILLY SPO. I cannot speak. PHILLY SPORTS REPORT for $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. Thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring. It's not just sports; it's also comedy shows and concerts and all that stuff. So thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring. And if you're a fan of a different team and you want to buy some more playoff tickets, make sure you go to SeatGeek and use that code. All right, let's start in the first inning. Tyler Glasnow on the mound for the Dodgers. And this first inning felt like a really good chance for the Phillies. Trey Turner went down on strikes to start the inning, but Schwarber hits a double to right field. And then gets moved over by Harper. Alec Bohm walks. So you got runners on the corners for Brandon Marsh against Glasnow. There's no shadow yet. This is a great opportunity. 2 outs. We go up 1-0 here in the first and at bat, and he strikes out. I want to see how many pitches on 4 pitches. And that ball
Yeah,
that
it
was
was many.
just at the bottom of the zone should have been called a strike. Marsh finished this series 1 for 13, and he really did not put up. He put up an awful at bat to in the first when the Phillies really had a good shot.
No, yeah, that was kind of the tone setter of this game. For anybody that's gonna watch this and went to and watched me and Steve Hamilton on our pregame show for Game 4, the number one thing we said with Glass now is we don't know what his start is going to look like because we really haven't seen him in the postseason yet, but other than the 1.2 innings pitch, we really haven't seen him in the starting role yet. It's been weeks since he's been a starter. How's he going to look? How's he going to look at home? And we pretty much had in the conclusion either the Phillies are going to get out to him early, and it's going to be a short night for him, or he's going to lock in and go for 6 strong. And look what happened. He went and locked in for 6 strong. That first inning, obviously, a run scored there would have won them the game because it would have given them the extra run in hindsight, looking back at it now. But that right there was an early opportunity for the team to cement themselves in front and continue the momentum from the night before. Because who knows what that one run does for them for the rest of the offense going forward. They might not be pushing themselves to try and take 0 off the board in later innings. Who knows what that leads to. One thing I want to talk about in that inning too is the out that Bryce Harper made in that inning as well. Kyle Schwarber just hit a 1-out double, second half out of the game that gave them an early runner in scoring position. And what does Bryce Harper do? He swings at the first pitch on a weak grounder over to first base. On the first pitch he saw on a curveball. I understand Harper is always about going after the first pitch because it's what he does. He goes to the first pitch no matter where it is, almost always in the zone or out of the zone. But when you have Schwarber at second base right there, you have a prime opportunity to add on with even a single probably scores Kyle in that situation. And you have a weak grounder first pitch. The swing that he gave was basically if I would have been okay if it was a 2-strike swing and a grounder to first. But first pitch he sees, he does that, was absolutely insane and absolutely horrible. Yeah, it moved Schwarber over to third, and Bowman ended up walking to put runners on the corners. Not the point, though. And I guess I get Marsh. He had an opportunity against the right-hander to have a big hit that would have given him the lead early. And he strikes out, and it's a terrible at-bat. But that is where the spots where you need Harper to come through. Like, it's simple as that. He has the advantage right there against a right-handed batter. You have an advantage with a runner in scoring position. You only need a single. You don't even have to get the big home run or a big double. And he fell through right away. It's very disappointing. He himself, man, he was not himself this entire series compared to what he's been in other playoff series. The clutch gene in him just feels like it's going down. I know his OPS in the playoffs is still well in the 1000s, but it just doesn't feel like Harper has been. It honestly feels like swing of his life, and that 2022 postseason seems like it's been 10 years since that's happened. It feels so long ago. It feels so long since I got a Bryce Harper masterclass playoff performance. And it's really disappointing because it just feels like it's a clog in the middle of our lineup now instead of a guy who look at a guy similar in age in Aaron Judge, who Aaron Judge had an insane playoff run for the Yankees in the 7 games that they played. He was only batting 500, and Bryce didn't have to do that. He didn't have to bat 500. He can be batting 300 and still be productive. But that was just a pitiful first inning, and really, in my opinion, watching at the time, it felt like that inning just set the tone for the rest of the game. It just felt like they were just going to let this guy cruise. They were going to have to hope that Sanchez did the same, and then hopefully try to get to their bullpen later and try to get some runs. And look how that turned out. It just didn't turn out the way they wanted it to. And the rest of the game did not go their way. So it's really disappointing that is how it started, and that really was what set the tone for this team.
Yeah, it was not the start the Phillies needed, and I've said it a couple of times. I don't know the last time we got a clutch Bryce Harper moment. Like Kyle and I in the last episode looked back. He didn't have a hit. He didn't get on base once in the extra innings in 2025. The last big hit he had in the playoffs came in last year, Game 2, where he had the homer against the Mets.
Yeah.
But ever since then, there has not been anything. Anyway, let's keep it moving. It's a 1-2-3 bottom of the first for Christopher Sanchez, who was excellent yesterday, and then a 1-2-3 for the Phils. Another 1-2-3, and then we just kind of keep going with the 1-2-3 innings for a little bit. Dodgers get something going in the third, and it was kind of at this point in the second and third inning where the shadows started to take over, which was another reason why you had to go out and get in front of Glasnow in that first inning, is because the Phillies get so frazzled by the shadows. I mean, it's so hard to hit, especially with a guy like Glasnow who can throw some heat, but it is difficult. And the Phillies had that chance at that first inning to avoid those shadows. They started off doing it and then weren't able to capitalize.
No, 100%. Shadows, I hate when they're used as like this big excuse, like when you don't hit well. They do affect you, not to the point where it's impossible to hit, but it is a thing that they got to adjust to. But again, it's unfortunate that first inning set that tone. Like if you know those shadows are there, you got to try to work your way on with some walks, play some small ball, which they don't do. But that's what that's what good teams in like playoffs do. There's a reason the Milwaukee Brewers are the number one seed in the not even the National League, number one team in the MLB this year record wise. They play a style of baseball that is so I don't know the word for it. It's not the way that everybody plays it today, because people think that home runs are so great, and I get it, they are, and that hitting extra base hits are important, they are. But come down to the nitty gritty playoffs, you need to make sure that you get runners on, you advance, and you play smart ABC baseball. The Brewers I'm telling you right now, the Brewers would rather have a guy work his way on with a walk, steal a bag to second base, bunt him to third, and score him on a sac fly. They would take that every single time in an inning if they could. That's probably the way that they go up there and try and swing. Phillies go up there and they try to be every single guy on this team tries to be the hero, 1 through 9, and it's really frustrating because you get to these games like this where for the first 5-6 innings you're going down 1-2-3 on 8 pitches, and starting pitchers are staying in this game for innings on innings on innings. The first game in particular, I think about that, they were piling on Ohtani in the first game. I think it was it the second inning they scored those 3 runs in that first? Yeah, they were piling on runs in that second inning through the middle of the order. You take advantage of that. You are up 3-0 in the first game. Get him out of the game. But no, they had terrible at-bats. They tried going for the home run ball. They didn't try to start a rally or anything. They let Ohtani settle in. And I'm not saying Ohtani isn't. This is not me acting like Ohtani is washed, and we just let a guy who's a bum just throw one of his best starts ever. No, Ohtani's good. I'm not denying that. He's a really good pitcher in this league, very underrated. But you had an opportunity to bump him out of that game and set the tone of the series overall. They did it yesterday with Glasnow. You had a chance to bump him out of that game early, force the Dodgers to use even more of their bullpen than they did yesterday. Maybe they would have went to Sasaki earlier. Maybe they would have went to Sheehan earlier. And they were honestly looking really good on Sheehan in the 7th when they scored their sole run of the game. You have to make things happen. You can't just let these teams lock in with their starters, because look what happens. They just go inning after inning after inning where they go down 1-2-3, 1-2-3 on 10 pitches, 1-2-3 inning on 15 pitches, and it adds up. Glasnow was dealing until that in 7th, I think it was the 6th inning. No, 7th inning when he got pulled. He was dealing that entire time, and I'm shocked they didn't send him back out there and they let Sheehan come in relief, because I honestly thought he was going to keep going until the end of the game. It's still tied 0-0, but it's just really unfortunate that this is just keep happening year after year after year, and they don't make changes overall. And I don't know if a manager change is the key. I really think it's a coaching thing. I know Kevin Long is their boy, Harper, Turner, Schwarber, all the offensive guys, he's their boy. But at this point, you need to start making changes on the steps. You can't just, as Dave Dombrowski, as the president of baseball operations, you can't just roll out the same team year after year and expect different changes when they don't win. This was essentially almost the same exact team from last year. And the only difference from last year and this year, last year was just they were getting dominated every single game. Even the second game that they won last year against the Mets, they were still getting dominated until they went on a little bit of a run. At least this year, the ball was in your court a little bit, where if a few things went their way, they could have ended up winning. And it wasn't really a domination by the Dodgers. It felt like the Phillies dominated more innings overall. But you can't just keep rolling out these same teams year after year and the same philosophy hitting year after year and expect different outcomes. So it's unfortunate that this tone has just been the same every single year, and they won't change. I really don't know what the definitive answer is to change, but they have to figure something out.
We'll jump to the 6th, where the Phillies got their first hit since the first inning. It was an Alec Boehm line drive up the middle into center field, and that's great. I mean, Phillies go 5 innings without getting a hit, and finally, a base runner even. So they finally get that. Marsh goes down on strikes, and then we go to the 6th, where a little bit of trouble for Christopher Sanchez, Teoscar, Mookie Betts singled, Teoscar Hernandez singled, and then a double play grounded into by Freddie Freeman, which was huge. And then Edman grounded out back to Sanchez, and Sanchez escaped out of that jam. And then we go to the 7th, where Tyler Glasnow taken out of the game. And you mentioned we didn't know what we'd see from Glasnow. He was great. 6 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 3 walks, 8 strikeouts. And that was a lot of that could be because of the shadows that the Phillies were dealing with up at the plate. But you got good stuff from Glasnow. Sheehan comes in. JT Realmuto leads off the inning with a single. Max Kepler then grounds out, or doesn't ground out. He grounds it to shortstop, or grounds it to Freddie Freeman, excuse me. Grounds it to Freddie Freeman, who has to come off the bag. Throws it to second, gets JT out, and then the throw back to first. Sheehan goes to cover the base, and I don't know what Mookie put it right on target. Kepler would have been out, and the ball just goes right by his glove. Sheehan just with total lack of
Awareness, yeah.
lack of detail and anything there, just a bad play, and it ended up being the Phillies' run when Nick Castellanos came through again with an RBI double.
No, yeah, that was a huge break for them in that inning. And real quick, back to the 6th inning, in the Dodgers hitting. That was the biggest inning where they felt pressure, probably until the 11th until the 8th when they scored their run, the Dodgers. Or was the 8th or the 7th they scored their run? No, it was the 7th, my bad. Bottom of the 7th when they scored their run. But that inning, the Phillies and the Dodgers, top of the order, is very similar in the sense that they have big name guys up top that have to deliver. And the Phillies are structured where their lineup, they start off with a righty, 2 lefties, and a righty. Dodgers start off with a lefty, 2 righties, and a lefty. And that's the difference, in my opinion, in this game. The 2 righties for the Dodgers against the left-hander Sanchez, Mookie Betts and Teoscar Hernandez, showed up this entire series. We threw a left-handed starting pitcher pretty much every game. The only one was Nola in Game 3, which eventually rolled into Ranger Suarez, who pretty much should have been starting anyway. They tried the thing with Nola to get the right-handed lineup in for the Dodgers, and it worked, and then Ranger ended up dominating. But you look at those scenarios. That's why this series just didn't go well. The Dodgers, on the other hand, threw 3 right-handed pitchers to 1 lefty in Blake Snell. We threw pretty much all left-handed pitching at them starter-wise. And our left-handed hitters our left-handed hitters, who are considered some of the best left-handed hitters in not just National League, all of baseball this year, they didn't show up. Take out Game 3. They did not show up in this series at all. And it's super frustrating because then it relied on the middle of the lineup to get the runs. The majority of the runs in this series came from the middle of the lineup. Look at Game 1. JT on the triple, scoring most of those runs in that scenario. Game 2 as well. That was the Castellanos double that scored the runs in the 9th inning. Yesterday, Castellanos with a double again. And Castellanos only had 2 hits this series. They were pretty clutch. You wish that they could have came from the top of the order. But that right there, if you take out Game 3, our top of the lineup just didn't show up. It's plain as day simple. And especially against pitching, starting pitching. I know these right-handers are good. Ohtani, Yamamoto, Glasnow. I know they're good. But these are the games that come down to it when your left-handers have to hit against their top right-handed pitching, and vice versa. If the right-handers or left-handers are pitching, the right-handed hitters have to come up. And their right-handed hitters, Betts and Teoscar, they were coming up big. Teoscar had the big hit in Game 1. Mookie Betts was on fire this whole series. And you look what the Phillies were able to do against the Dodgers' top left-handers. Shohei Ohtani was pretty much a non-factor in this whole series hitting-wise. He did not do anything this entire series. Freddie Freeman had his first hit yesterday. His first hit of the whole series yesterday. The fact that you look at the box scores of some of these games and you put together that Freddie Freeman and Shohei Ohtani had like two or three hits in 4 games, and you weren't even able to win more than one game. It's just really frustrating. But yeah, so that's where it turns around and why you realize, wow, why are the Phillies struggling to score runs in some of these games? It's because their middle of the lineup is the only part of the lineup that is able to score runs outside of game 3. The important games 1 and 2, and 4, the elimination game where you have to win, they're just not showing up. And yeah, it was a great 7th inning to get that first run. You capitalized off the mistake that the Dodgers made. That's what good teams do. Castellanos had a really good double that you really wish that runner on second, 1 out, you could have got another run home with Stott coming up and then the top of the order flipping over to Trey Turner. You really wish that you could have taken advantage of that situation. But again, they didn't. They only settled for 1, and that ended up biting them in the butt the most because that 1 run was not enough sustainability with 9 outs to go in that game as well. They knew you had to score more runs than 1 run. If they ended up getting another one right there, obviously, in hindsight, they would have ended up winning because they wouldn't have went to extras, tied 1-1. They would have won 2-1. But those opportunities right there, you have to take advantage, and you have to start rallies. And this team just wasn't able to really do that other than game 3.
Bottom of the 7th, Trey Turner starts it off with an electric diving stop, throws out Will Smith at first base, and then this is when things start to go downhill for the Phillies. Alex Call walks, KK Hernandez singles, and then Christopher Sanchez is taken out of the game. And that was it for Christopher Sanchez. And, Christopher Sanchez, such an incredible season for the Phillies. When they needed a guy to step up, Sanchez didn't even really step up. He just kind of stayed who he was all year. Sir, I mean, it's for certain he'll finish 2nd or 3rd in NL Cy Young voting. This guy, he goes by the name of Paul Skeens. I would make my best guess is going to win the award. But Sanchez last night, 6 1/3, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, and 5 strikeouts. We'll get to that run in just a moment. And Juan Duran comes into the game in the 7th inning. Matt, just give me a real quick answer on Duran. Was this the correct move to bring him in at this point?
100%. That was the biggest point in the game. The top of the order was looming because he was brought in when Pages was coming up, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and then Pages would have flipped over to Ohtani. The biggest part of the order was coming up. That was the biggest moment of the game because if you could have got through that, you would have been dealing with the rest of the Dodgers lineup that wasn't Ohtani in the top. That was the 100% right moment to bring him in.
Pages grounds out to Harper at first base, so the 2 runners advance up to 2nd and 3rd. So now there's 2 outs. Runners on 2nd and 3rd, and Ohtani comes up. Phillies elect to intentionally walk Ohtani after he was 1 for 18 in this series. They intentionally walk. That's for the whole series. Going to them, sure, he was 1 for 16 or 17. But they intentionally walk Ohtani, and the bases are loaded for Mookie Betts. And Juan Duran walks in his first runner of his career. He had never in his career had a walk with the bases loaded. And he walks in Mookie Betts. Another managerial question, Matt, was walking Ohtani the correct move?
100% it was. I don't want to hear the people that say that wasn't the right move. I just feel like don't understand baseball that much because the thing that makes me laugh about that is they act like Ohtani is just some guy who is struggling at the time. He's Shohei Ohtani. He is arguably, if he's not your number 1 best player in baseball, he's number 2 behind Aaron Judge. It's one of those 2 in that scenario. 10 times out of 10, I am walking him in that scenario. Does it suck to load the bases because it puts you in the scenario that a walk or a hit by pitch or a missed pitch can put the game bring the time run to the plate or bring the time run in? Excuse me. Yes, it sucks. It is a terrible, terrible situation you're in. But at the same time, you have 2 right-handers coming up in Betts and Teoscar. Ohtani, a notorious lefty who can hit. He has hit fast right-handed pitching a lot, which is what Duran's specialty is. I understand Duran is a great pitcher, but in that scenario, I think even Duran would say to himself he would want to face Betts and Teoscar coming up. He'd rather do that than face Ohtani. You have to do that in that scenario. Does it suck that it didn't go their way? 100%. 100%. If I'm being honest, I feel like Duran wishes he got those first 2 pitches back in that count because he just missed on some of those first two pitches. I believe the first one was high. Either the first one was high or the first one was low, and then the second one was the opposite. I want to look at that pitch by pitch real quick. Yeah. First one was low. Or they were both low. Excuse me, I was wrong. Both two splitters who just missed. Though it's tough. He really wishes, I feel like, that he had those first two pitches back because he needed to go after him, and it sucks that it didn't work.
Here is the pitch sequence. Here is the pitch sequence to Mookie Betts. He threw the first two balls, just missed in the zone. Second one was a little low, but still not a bad splitter. Gets the swing and a miss on 100 and then the fourth pitch is high. Mookie somehow fouls off 101, and then he goes 101 again. And then it's just high. So he tried to throw back some high cheese up at Betts, but Betts wasn't chasing. And it's the first. I mean, Rob Thompson after the game, like, why did you walk Ohtani? Well, he's Shohei Ohtani. And I finally found someone that agrees with me about this because I'm not. Everyone, is saying that they should have walked Ohtani, and I feel like if Ohtani gets a hit there, and two runners come in, and the Phillies trail at that point, everyone would be on the other side. Oh, why didn't you walk Ohtani? So it's kind of a flip flop kind of thing.
It was a lose situation for Thompson. No matter what decision he made there, people were going to critique it unless they got out of it. Like it's simple as that. So it's unfortunate that I do wish he went after that at bat a little bit better. I don't think it was he approached that at bat well. He approached the Teoscar one much better. He got out of the jam, but it's an unfortunate situation that he was in. But they had to do that decision 10 times out of 10, and I don't regret that at all. I don't think that's the reason they lost this game. People are saying that, and it's not. No,
it certainly plagued this game. It flipped the momentum, and it was really unfortunate. And Rob Thompson kind of didn't. You look back on it, didn't push the correct buttons, but it's Ohtani. So I think it was the right move, but walking Betts, and also Duran has never walked the bases loaded. Something that you can't call. You cannot predict that.
No.
Eighth inning, Phillies, they got their 2, 3, 4 batters up, looking for a response. Roki Sasaki comes in the game. Phillies go down 1-2-3. Bottom of the eighth, Dodgers. Oh, let's tack on the lead here. Let's send these Phillies home. Go down 1-2-3. Duran comes back in and gets a great eighth inning. Oh, Phillies, top of the ninth. We got Marsh, JT, and Kepler. We've come through. JT has been huge this series. Marsh struggling, Kepler struggling. Let's avenge for that. They go down 1-2-3. Bottom of the ninth, Matt Strahm comes into the game, and this is when people start freaking out. Matt Strahm in leverage. Are we serious? Top of the ninth or bottom of the ninth? Got the Dodgers go down 1-2-3. So we're heading to extra innings. We go to the 10th. And Phillies go down 1-2-3. Roki Sasaki is disgusting. And the move to move him into that closer role for the Dodgers, brilliant.
No, it 100% is. I think he's kind of been the unsung MVP of the Dodgers postseason overall. Like he has filled that void and closed out what now? Is it 3 games he's closed out now? I think he's closed out all 3 of the games that they won in this series, and including the one in Cincinnati that they won too. He has been so good for them. And you kind of knew that the Dodgers were doing this strategy back in that last winter when they were making these free agency signings. Like when they signed Blake Snell and Tanner Scott and the bullpen, the way they were going with their pitching, and then Sasaki eventually as well, you kind of saw how, they have Yamamoto, who had this big deal. Ohtani's going to be back starting. Snell as well, and then Glasnow. Those 4 guys right there who, when they're all healthy, they should be starting for them. So you get Sasaki, who is a 5th pitcher, but then after that you have Sheehan, who is a starting pitcher. Even Clayton Kershaw in his 39-year-old season, he is still a starting pitcher for them. You lock up other spots with guys you signed, but you have didn't they have someone else too? Did they have Dustin May to start the year? Yeah, they did, and they traded into Boston too. They had a guy, Dustin May. That's another starter. They basically, we even said it, they had a 1A and a 1B starting pitching staff, and that's a great thing to have. That was the advantage the Phillies had going into this playoffs before Zach Wheeler went down. The Phillies were going to roll out Zach Wheeler Sanchez and Ranger Suarez in the first 3 games, and Jesus Luzardo was going to be possibly their 2-inning relief guy when they needed it. Jesus Luzardo, who shoved in game 2 with an amazing start. It's crazy just how that trickles down. And you could say injuries ruin that, but that's how the Dodgers win. They pay for this. They pay for a lot of things. They pay for the best starting pitching. They pay for the best hitters. But at the end of the day, when you have that strategy of having more pitching, they take advantage of it. They have the opportunity that they can move Sasaki to the bullpen and have him pitch 3 amazing innings, sending us down 9 in a row. Like, that's the advantage they have with a guy like that. And I commend them for it because that's a big strategy that is working for them. It's a big reason why I feel like they're going to the World Series and probably going to win the World Series now because they have the advantage in starting pitching. I like the Brewers. I think they're a really good team. I like the Cubs. I think they're a really good team. But those 2 teams lack the pitching depth that the Dodgers have. And you saw it this series. The Dodgers only needed 5 runs in the first game. Technically, 4 would have won it for them. Same with the second game. They only needed 4 runs. And then yesterday, they only needed 2. They only needed 10 runs overall to win this series. 10. Like, that right there shows you that even when Ohtani is going 1 for 18 in a series, even when Freeman has 2 hits in the series, like when they're struggling offensive, they get picked up with the other offensive, defensive, or pitching pieces that they have, and the rest of their lineup comes through. The Phillies, on the other hand, that just isn't happening. When they struggle up top, everyone else struggles, and it just trickles down the lineup. Doing 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then you get to the 11th inning and you have 1 run on 4 hits, whatever it was, and you look to yourself, why did we lose this game? Oh, because Orion Kirkland threw a bad pitch. Oh, because Duran walked a guy. No, you lost this game because you can't hit, and it's going to be simple as day as that. And nothing will change with this team until they learn how to hit and learn how to dominate teams.
Bottom of the 10th, Phillies make the move. Jesus Luzardo enters the game. This is a great move by Rob Thompson. You know, you sacrifice your possible Game 5 starter, but you got to win Game 4 to get Game 5. So Luzardo comes in against the top of the Dodgers order. He strikes out Ohtani. He gets the Mookie Betts fly out, and he strikes out Teoscar Hernandez, and you're feeling good. We're going to the 11th. Roki Sasaki's out of the game. It's the Alex Vesia's in the game against the lefty. You know, Schwarber against the lefty. Harper against the lefty. You know, you got feeling good. Schwarber grounds out. Harper walks. Hey, Harper's on base. Bohm lines out, so it's 2 out. That Bohm's ball was crushed to right center, but you know, just kind of how the things are going for the Phillies, and it falls short and caught out there in center field. And then Bader comes up to pinch hit, and it's a 10-pitch at bat, wild pitch as well. So Bryce Harper tags up, and this is just, I'll pull up the for those who are watching rather than listening on the podcast. This was a really unfortunate at bat, and this was one of the, you know, this was something that changed the tide going into the bottom of the 11th. A 10-pitch at bat, just fouled it off, fighting, but pitches all over the place. And then this is the pitch number 10, way down and away, that Bader goes down on. And, you know, Bader, not healthy, but this slider down here, not even close. It was never a strike.
No, never was.
And that really felt like this is where it all goes down.
Yeah, and a real quick thing with that, people were saying that was a dumb move using Bader there, which I don't know how that's even possible. If you have that opinion, that's crazy. That was honestly the perfect scenario to use Bader. That was pretty much just going to be a one-off hit appearance, and then Kemp or Wilson, whoever you needed, was going to run if he got a base hit or got on and play the outfield, and it's a perfect scenario right there because it's a one-off. Losing Bader was a really big turning point in the series. I truly think that. It forced that. I know Castellanos had the 2 hits, that were the 2 clutch doubles in this series, and who knows what happens with that. But not having Bader in that lineup really, really affected them. I feel like it took away from their outfield defense. You know, I know Betts in Game 3 has that triple because Mark's in center field. He didn't read that ball well and he dove for it. It's a difference of this or that because they still win 8-1 anyway. It doesn't really matter. But it just feels like they just weren't playing themselves and they were pushing a little bit in the outfield. And their defense was down because of it. Their offense was definitely down. People don't realize how big of an offensive spark Harrison Bader was for this team down the stretch. He was playing out of his mind once he went in the leadoff role once Trey went down. And he was a big swing for this lineup in the middle of the lineup. Like, you could argue that he was the best bat after the top 4 in this lineup. That's such a big piece to lose. You lose his speed, you lose his base stealing ability. It's just little things like that are just it's so big to lose in a series. And am I being salty because the Dodgers didn't lose anybody like that? No, not like a little bit. Like, they even gained it when they got Will Smith back. It's a better bat that they had. So it's just unfortunate losing Bader in this series, because when R9 versus their 9 are healthy, I'm not going to say that we're a Harrison Bader away from guaranteeing a win, but it definitely affected our outlook on how we were going into these games. And it forced guys like Castellanos. Castellanos was making like 2 starts a week in the last month of the season. And then all of a sudden you're asking him to play 3 straight games in 5 days. Like, it's just little things like that we weren't prepared for. And it's unfortunate that injuries caused that, but Bader going down was a really big miss for this team. And I really hope he comes back, because if he keeps playing exactly the way he was before he got hurt, he should be the starting center fielder next year for the Philadelphia Phillies. He's the center fielder that they've needed defensively. He's the guy in the lineup where he can flip the lineup over. If he's batting 7th or 8th in your lineup, or even 9th if we're that good, you have a good team. And that's the perfect spot for him. I know he's doing well in the leadoff spot, but that's the perfect spot for him in that order. Play a great outfield defense, and I truly think that they need to do whatever. He is the buyout, right? Or the option.
Mutual option.
Yeah, I really hope they bring him back on that option, because he really it's not even the principle, because they traded for him and he has that option. But I really just think that he is the perfect type of guy, the guy that they've been looking for over the past couple of years of the deadline to fill that center field void.
Unfortunately, could not come through in the bottom of the 11th, struck out in the 10th pitch. And we go to the bottom of the inning, and Luzardo remains in. And this is when things started getting weird. So he strikes out Freddie Freeman. Tommy Edman gets a base hit into left field. Ha-Sung Kim comes in to run for Edman. Will Smith lined out to center field. That was the hardest hit ball of the inning, by the way. That ball was hit 102 miles an hour. The line out and out was the hardest hit ball of the inning. Max Muncy hits a ground ball through the left side for a base hit on the first pitch. 76 miles per hour off the bat, by the way. 76. So there's 2 outs, and there's 2 on. And Rob Thompson brings in Orion Kerkering. Orion Kerkering this season, since August 1st, has inherited 14 runners. He's allowed 9 of them to score. Kike Hernandez is the first batter for Orion, and he walks him. And then, we all know what happened on the very next play. The second pitch is a 69-mile-per-hour comebacker that hits Orion in the foot. He picks it up. His feet are positioned to throw to first, but he faces home. He throws. It goes wide of JT to the backstop. Kim scores. Game over. Series over. Season over. Era over. And Orion Kerkering, it is so heart-wrenching to look at. Orion bent over, hands on his knees, is looking down as all the Dodgers just run by him. It is something out of a movie. And JT, here's the picture for those watching. He picks the ball up and he's like positioned to throw to first if he just takes a little pivot to his left. But he throws home. JT is pointing to first base. Andy Paz is hardly up the first base line while Kim is approaching home. And the throw goes by. Harper was there at first. All Orion had to do, he could even run it over a little bit. But the play was there first. And Orion panicked. And it's so easy to depict that as something that cost the Phillies the game, cost them the series. But personally, Orion should not have been out there anyway.
No, it's such a tough scenario because they had 2 right-handers coming up, And in your mind, when you're managing there, you say, well, if he walks Kike, which he did, if Kike gets on, the game is coming down to Paez, because even if he hits him, he walks him, he gets a base hit, or he gets out, Ohtani will not bat that inning. So in your mind, you say to yourself, well, I need a right-hander in, because at max he's throwing too bad. Ohtani is irrelevant in this scenario. He cannot face him in the scenario. So you need a right-hander. So you look at the right-handers you have. You have Aaron Nola, you have Taijuan Walker, you have Walker Buehler, who I think should have been in. You have Orion Kirkland, and you have Dave Robertson. Taijuan Walker didn't look good the night before. The 2 outs you threw him. Aaron Nola. Do you trust Aaron Nola, a starter, to come in? No, he was not coming in that game. He does all his pregame stuff. He was not coming in that game. So you're down to 3 guys. You're down to Dave Robertson, who pretty much blew the game in game 1. Got the key out to get out of the 1 inning, but came back out and let the first 2 runners on that eventually led to the home run that lost in the game. You have Orion Kirkland, a guy who has struggled in this city to play, a guy who has struggled this year with taking runners on base, letting them on almost every single time he goes out there. Or you have Walker Buehler. And I know there's hindsight that you could say that Orion wasn't the guy to do it. I still said at the time that I think it should have been Walker Buehler. I know he hadn't pitched that entire series, but I just think that was the better guy to put in that scenario. I honestly think, in my opinion, I think Orion might have been at the bottom of those 3 that were available to pitch. Like, I think I'd rather have went to Robertson. I wouldn't have loved it, but I think I'd rather have gone to Robertson before I went to Orion. I 100% would have rather gone to Walker Buehler than Orion. And I am not fully putting this game on the shoulders of Orion Kirkland. Did Orion Kirkland mess up? Did he mess up? 100%. 100%. You see in that picture, he had all day to turn to first base and make the throw. And you could see it there. Paez is not even halfway down the line. He is just getting past the S in postseason on the side there. He has all day to throw over to first base. And what does he do? He throws to home, with JT even pointing there, not even ready for the ball, and throws a bad throw over him. He didn't even have to fire this ball. He really could have just thrown it if he was going home, but he doesn't do that. Did he mess up? 100%. It's proof is in the pudding right there. You can see it. He had plenty of time to go to first base. That being said, though, Orion Kirkland does not deserve every single ounce of blame in this scenario. Hell, I don't even think Rob Thompson deserves every single ounce of blame in this scenario. People are acting like it was the end of the world that they were bringing a right-hander in and that Luzardo could have pitched. I don't disagree with that. It was a bad idea to let Luzardo still pitch in that game, because he was pitching pretty well, but it seemed like he was running out of gas. And again, it's the easy scenario when you sit there as a manager. You see that there are 2 righties coming up, and Ohtani will not bat in this inning. There was no chance of Ohtani batting that inning, because the game either would have been into the 12th inning or the game would have been over after Hernandez and Paez. So in your head, you say to yourself, there are 2 right-handers coming up. I think it's the smartest thing in the world to bring in a right-hander. It's common logic with managing baseball. It's not that hard to figure out. It's just unfortunate that at this point in the season, there are just few right-handed arms that you really trust on this Phillies team. Who's to blame in that scenario? Is it to blame Dombrowski for not getting another one? The only right-handed pitcher that you really could rely on in that scenario was Duran. You already used him, but you had to use Duran earlier. You had to get to that scenario in the first place. It's just unfortunate that is what's being remembered for this game. What's not being remembered is the Phillies absolutely stalling out on offense, that they took till the 11th inning to even get any offense going. They didn't even get offense going. They had offense going in 1 inning. It's unfortunate. And you can say the same thing. Well, the Dodgers did the same thing. Their offense stalled out as well. I understand that. But the Dodgers had the advantage of being up. They had the advantage of being at home. They had the advantage of, honestly, they probably should have been scoring more runs in other innings. Phillies were, it's not getting lucky because they were getting out of jams and they were doing the right moves that they had to do. But you kind of felt like the Dodgers were on the verge of scoring runs. You had that feeling that they were just ready to pounce. And I emphasize this point so much that Orion Kirkland will get the majority of this blame. And I'm not saying he shouldn't get blamed. He should. That was a terrible throw. It was a poop in the pants moment where he just didn't know what was going on and panicked. He panicked 100%. That was why that play happened. But again, at the end of the day, I truly don't think that all this blame should be going on him. You have plenty of other guys. The funniest part about this is in this city, we blame guys like Alec Boehms and Bryson Stotts and Brandon Marshes on this team and the Orion Kirkrans. All these guys who are young, not making much money. Like these guys go to arbitration every year and they make $2 to $3 million a year. And they rightfully so when they struggle. I'm not saying they shouldn't be not given their critiques because they're MLB players. They're in the MLB for a reason. We are in a playoff hunt. We are a playoff team every single season with this group. They deserve to be reprimanded when they don't play well. They're grown men. But at the same time, there are veterans in this clubhouse who don't show up. And when they don't show up, they get their crap too. But at the same time, we don't talk about that as much. And they seem like they're the only ones that we don't critique as much. I'm talking about Bryce Harper. I'm talking about Kyle Schwarber. I'm talking about Trey Turner. We have paid those guys. Do you have the number down, Ben, how much we pay those guys?
Yeah, the dollars between Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, and Bryce Harper, who in this series went 10 for 48. In the 3 losses, they went 3 for 35. It's $74.6 million this season brought up between them. It's over $700 million money for them on their contracts going back to Harper 2019, Schwarber 22, and Turner 23.
Yeah. I don't even think the 4 guys I mentioned make 5% of that money. Not even. And I get that's how baseball teams are made. You have younger guys who eventually get those big contracts and they hit free agency eventually. But it's so frustrating to me when you see things like this where Orion is going to get crucified all offseason. People don't think people think he needs to get traded because he probably can't play in the city ever again, and that he's going to be a lifelong villain on this team and every time he makes a mistake, he's going to get crucified for it. And it's just so unfortunate that it came down to the way it did. I even said this, I'd rather Pages hit a walk-off grand slam than the way that happened. Like, because you felt like you had it right there. And again, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve blame. He deserves blame for what happened. But at the end of the day, this loss wasn't fully on him. This loss is on outside sources. This loss is on veteran players who don't show up. And it's just on a team that just year in and year out, they say the things that they need to say. They say that this is going to be different. They say this is the year they show up, and they don't. Year after year. We've seen it for 4 years now, ever since really the World Series against Houston after that Game 3. They have just not been they've been a different team. And it's unfortunate that it's taken this long now because you feel like the championship window with this team is closing. Bryce Harper only has 6 more years left of his original deal with the Phillies. They're in the back half of the Harper era now, and you don't know what to do. I really don't know what they're going to do right now. It's a really interesting offseason for them. They have big decisions to make, and you basically said earlier that was an era-defining game an era-defining throw, because that throw by Orion Kirkland is going to affect how this team looks moving forward and how this team performs moving forward.
It's just this.
It's tough to put words into what happened. It really is.
This is a fitting end. This team deserves to lose like this. When your 3 stars go 10 for 48, when your cleanup hitter goes 4 for 12, and when Kepler, Marsh, and Stott combine for 5 hits in this series, and Castellanos 2 times on base in 15 plate appearances, they deserve to lose like this. Because nothing that we saw this series was new. The stars didn't show up. The rest of the lineup followed with them and did not perform well. The bullpen was managed extremely poorly. And the guys that came in did not pitch well. This team, the lights are just too bright in the playoffs. And you can't bring this group back together. And these guys know that this is it. Schwarber is a free agent. Realmuto is a free agent. Ranger Suarez is a free agent. I think it's safe to say, at least one of them ain't coming back, and two of the three might not be back. And if there's any way that this era, which will go down as the most disappointing era in Phillies history, this is the only team in Phillies history that has been good for multiple years in a row and to not win a World Series. They deserve to go out with heartbreak. They deserve to go out with just this horrible feeling in their mouths because they're getting paid the big dollars. They are the most expensive playoff ticket in baseball, and they don't show up. They don't show up at home. They don't show up in big elimination games on the road. And I don't know what you do with the manager. I don't know exactly what guys you bring back and what don't. But it's hard to process just that ending. But really, I look at Orion Kerkering and how the Phillies pitched in that 11th, and I say I don't think the Phillies would have scored at this game with 20 innings with how the offense was going. They deserve the heart-wrenching loss like this. The Phillies do. We don't as fans, but the players and the management and everyone involved in there 100% deserve this. And as a fan, I'm a fan first. It sucks. It does.
No, yeah. I like your point of that. I think it's going to take a game like that for, I think, a serious shift in how this team is viewed going forward. Like, you really feel that without that game last night, the way it went, that if they just hit a home run like that, you would think that they would just run it back again possibly and just try to make it work. But it takes a heartbreak like that for you to realize maybe this isn't working. And maybe they do need to make big changes. And it's really tough because, like I said, you're in the back half of the Harper's deal. You have Trey now for another 9 years on his deal, or whatever it is. Eight. I know. Well, Trey, we do get a lot of crap to Trey, but he is still a top caliber shortstop in this league.
That's just crazy. 9 more years is just
whatever it is. It's still a long time we have for Trey, but. So, and you have the young pieces that you would hope to be coming up soon that would replace. You still have young players in Bohm and Stott, but those guys are eventually going to be out of.
I don't know if I'm calling those guys young anymore.
No, exactly. They're getting to the point where they're about
This
to
is the oldest team in baseball. The Phillies were the oldest team in baseball this year. Their average age was like 32, 33. Like the Phillies put all their chips in. They pushed everything in the middle this year. This had to be the year, and it was the 4th year in a row where they have regressed in the postseason. Every year, the regular season win total gets higher, and the performance in the playoffs gets lower. And we're at year 4 of that, and this has to be the end. I don't know if they'll make the playoffs next year because I don't know what this team is going to look like next year. And we're going to save our offseason projection of what we think this team is what's going to happen for next episode this weekend. But I look at my notes, I look at the numbers, and what am I supposed I've said it all year. What are we supposed to expect differently? When you have the same team over and over and over again, there's never going to be a difference. It's going to be the same thing. The magic ran out in 2022. You had the magic in 22. You had a great team in 23 that just somehow didn't win a game at home. You had a bad team last year that fell apart in the end. And you have the same team this year that did the same thing that they have done at the end of postseasons for 4 years in a row. The offense doesn't show up, the bullpen doesn't come through, and the managing gets too cute. It's the same thing over and over and over again. The definition of insanity is expecting a different result with the same thing. This is insanity. This is delusion that we're going through right now. And part of me is happy it's over.
Yeah, it's not a great thing. It's like I was saying. You needed a heartbreak loss like that for you to finally realize that it's done. You know what I'm saying? Like it sucks because you're at rock bottom right now. It kind of feels like, but you need to take that moment and put yourself together and realize that you need to work your way back up. Whether that's getting rid of guys, whether that's not re-signing others, finding pieces that work with this team, finding maybe new coaches managers that work with this team. And I have been a real big supporter of Rob Thompson. I truly think that he gets dealt a bad hand a lot. This is a tough city to play in, and it's a tough city to be a head coach / manager in. Exhibit A, we've seen it. We've seen guys like Andy Reid, who was considered one of the best coaches, not only in the NFL right now, in NFL history, get ran out of town by this city. Another one. Keep going with the Eagles real quick, but Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl, and less than 3 years later, they told him you're done. This is a tough city to coach in. It's a tough city to be a manager, and I give Topper that respect because this is a really hard group of guys to manage. It's a very veteran heavy team that is going to tell you that I'm playing every day, that you're not benching me. I'm going to be playing I know I have a spot because you're paying me this money, and I know I'm going to get my at-bats and my playing time. And the other players that don't have that control with the money, they follow suit because they feel like you can walk all over. And it's not like walking all over them. They have a great relationship. But this is a very tough team to handle. It's a very tough city to play for and manage. And I give him a lot of credit for being able to hunker down and continue to be a 90-plus win team, winning 2 division titles, making the playoffs every single year. A lot of Phillies managers have not been able to do that. And I get it. This team has put a lot of chips and a lot of assets into this team, money-wise and prospects-wise. So you give him a little slap for that. But the things that he has done, the decisions that he has made can't go unnoticed because it's true. He has made very questionable moves that have resulted in them losing every single year. And not everything is his fault. There's scenarios where, like last year, Game 1 against the Mets in that NLDS, where he brings in Hoffman and Estevez and they blow that game. And people play, oh, why is Topper doing that? What are you doing that for? Those are your top guys. You're going to them 10 times out of 10. You can't blame him for them throwing bad pitches and for letting up runs. And it's kind of the same thing here. Like he went to Luzardo, and you can make the question he maybe should have stayed in for another batter or two like that. It's unfortunate that it happened, but at the same time, there are decisions that he has made that have affected this team. Going to certain guys, loving certain guys. And honestly, the thing that pissed me off more about Topper is they're a completely different team in the postseason than they are the regular season, and they don't prepare themselves for it. The number one thing I am upset with is never this season never in any previous regular season has Rob Thompson has been the guy to where relief pitchers have more than one. They go into a game in the middle of an inning, sit down, and then come back out for the next inning. He has never done that. Almost never done that. The only time he's done that is when it's like Walker in the bullpen, or they're blowing somebody out and they just need to like eat runs with like a Tim Meza or a Max Lazar. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you just have innings 8. When you're in tight games, he is always the guy where when you finish an inning, you're done. We're gonna bring in another pitcher. That is always that's how he goes. And unlike the postseason, we get the postseason and he's doing that with Dave Robertson. He's sending him out for one batter, and then instead of succeeding on the inning that he just got out of, he sends it back out and tries to get more than he can chew. Yeah, another thing on the offensive side, we never bunt. We have never been a bunting and small ball team, and then all of a sudden we just become a bunting team out of nowhere in the biggest spot of the entire season. Like, I don't think that was. I'm in the majority that I don't think that was that bad of a move. Bunting stopped in game 2, in the 9th inning of that game, but we don't practice it enough, and we are never in the scenarios to where we can succeed with them. When you don't practice things like that, you're never going to succeed. And maybe it's going to take a new manager for this to whip this team into shape and to be a team that can win the postseason. I don't know who that could be. I'm also in that camp where I don't know what kind of manager you can bring into this team at this point, because you kind of need one that can be a playoff manager, but at the same time deal with the new crew that's going to be coming in with this team. So they have a lot of decisions. This is going to be the era-defining offseason for the Phillies. They have Dave Dombrowski and company have big moves to make, not only in free agency, but with the rest of this team, and what kind of moves they want to make and what kind of team they want to be for 2026 and going forward.
That'll do it for this episode of the Bell Ringers podcast. It was a long and pretty depressing one, but we appreciate you for sticking along with us. Thank you to Matt for coming along, filling in for Connor. And again, where this dude just like disappears. I don't know what this guy's up to, but we appreciate
it. It's as bad as it ended. It's been great talking to this team this whole year. It's been such a great. I've loved this team since I was young, and it's unfortunate to see where they are. But it's been such a blessing to be able to talk about this team to a wider audience now.
We want to thank all of you guys for watching and listening throughout the season. We did a lot of pods this year, and we appreciate all of you for being along for the ride. We'll be with you throughout the offseason, so don't go anywhere. We got a ton of Eagles, Sixers, and Flyers coverage on PhillySports.com as well, and we want to thank SeatGeek again for their support and partnership throughout the season. Thank you all for sticking along in this season. We'll be with you. We'll talk about this offseason and see where the Phillies go. Again, thank Goldstein and Matt Brown. We'll catch you. Thank you all.